All right, y'all. So, already from the very start, this is definitely about planning for the future. Looking to expand, okay? Because the Three of Pentacles it does talk about expansion, it does talk about growth, right? Making plans for that growth, right? Moving forward, being ready to, expand your horizons at some point. And considering why is that so? It's because of the Queen of Cups. Somebody's in love. I think you're in love, Virgo. You're definitely feeling those emotional vibes, and you're ready to, take action on that love, right? You're ready to start seeing, more than just where you are. You want to, grow something or have something that's expressive of that love somehow, right? So, that being said, with children, and then what brings you two together, as well as the challenge, King of Pentacles, and the Nine of Wands. Yeah, there's some things I think. There's some things that obviously both of you guys really benefit from, or realize can totally bring this relationship to the next level, which is reliability, which is practicality. You guys are both very good at coming up with plans and sticking to them. You guys are committed, and I think that's the thing, right? You guys have been committed, and you guys are willing to work through difficult stuff, really work through difficult times. But the thing is, right, considering that you guys are stable with yourselves, I think mostly, trying to come up with that, that union of hearts, right? Working together, being reliable and work together. That's the Nine of Wands there, I feel. And the Nine of Wands talks about, boundaries being put up, or not boundaries, just having your wall up, being defensive, not really being open to something new, but you're also protecting what's in, right? You're not. It's a really interesting card to have there, because of course it does communicate there is a level of defensiveness that's there that does need to be put down in order for there to be true expansion. And of course, right, well, there's things that you've been through that the Nine of Wands is indicating to us. There's some stuff that you've been through that's obviously the reason why those walls are up in the first place. Of course, defensiveness, understandable, considering you've been through a very long journey. But there is some things, of course, that can't come through with those walls up. So I feel like that's where the inner child comes in, right? You've been a warrior, you've been fighting, you've been, fighting the good fight, you've been diligent, but of course, where's the nutrients? Where's the nourishment? And the children need nourishment, right? All right? Because right now, you're kind of like a child soldier right now. Your inner child is like a child soldier. You're fighting, but you haven't gotten yourself the time to rest, the time to play, time to just be. And I think there's a lot of that going on, where you just kind of like, you're holding back because, holding back a little bit, or you have your defenses up because you're under a lot of pressure. You've gone through a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, a lot of shifting, and a lot of fighting back, fighting for yourself. And it hasn't really been, you haven't found a resting period for yourself, and that can cause a lot of things to kind of, bring on this defensive energy. But we're going to get into it. Now, pick the side that resonates with you guys the most. I'm going to start with this person here with the Ace of Coins as their mental space in the relationship and how they see it. They obviously see this relationship as something that's starting something new. The potential for growth, potential for things progressing in a beautiful way, right? They see this, they are excited about the new beginning here. They see this opportunity that, obviously requires commitment. They see that they're ready. I think they're ready to commit, ready to put down the effort that they need to, but they notice that this is a relationship that can definitely go the distance, right? That can definitely stand the test of time, but it's going to require work. It's going to require, effort. And I think this person is willing to do this. The person is committed and ready to do this. Now, the other person here is showing up with the Moon. Now, that card is very interesting coming up in the mind space, because they either shows that this person is very confused about how this relationship is going to proceed and how this relationship is going to move forward. They have no clue of how it's going to turn out, because they're coming from a solely emotional base, right? Their basis is solely emotional. So there's no practicality with this individual. There's no logic. It's all emotion for this person. And they're making their moves, to taking action based off of how they feel, which, and And obviously and honestly, I don't necessarily think it's like a seriously big step. It's more of like them just kind of trusting what they love, just putting their heart out there and seeing how it turns out. Because I think with the moon person, they feel intense emotion for this person. They feel intense love with that, the king of coins. This person is very independent, but they feel like they're also very committed to the relationship. I feel like this person's definitely, finds the relationship stable, solid, grounds them, but not enough to kind of make them, to alleviate their confusion, the uncertainty. But the thing is too, the relationship as well brings up a lot of their insecurities, a lot of their fears, because the moon isn't just about confusion and intense emotions, but it also talks about conquering the darkness, right? Conquering your darkness, not just any darkness, your darkness. And this person may be going through a period where they're having to overcome a lot of the insecurities and the things that they may be unconsciously like worried about, or maybe they're conscious of, but they are really facing it now because they're going into that territory where they don't really know where or how it can no what'll come of it, right? What is their efforts going to turn into? This person is completely in the dark in regards to how things can progress, and they're going truly 100% on faith here, or they have to, and they have to learn. They're learning to have faith in themselves, because this situation is not showing them a solid, this is definitely going to happen and this is definitely going to happen. So this person's like, looking for answers that honestly can't be answered. They have to just live and push through and believe in themselves and believe that things are going to be fine. Now, how they're presenting themselves as the lovers, they're definitely showing that they're in love. They're definitely accepting of their love. They're very open to their love. They're very expressive about their love. The lovers being up in the presence, that they're definitely choosing love, right? They're not choosing logic, even though it'd be easier. I think this person is like opening their heart space. They're trying to take that step, even the step in the dark, and see where it goes, and they're trusting their hearts with this, right? The lovers is definitely showing that. I think this person also feels that this relationship is definitely one of a kind, a very profound connection between you and this person. This feeling that you have for this individual, whoever this is, it's intensified. It's even more intensified. They have such deep and strong emotions for you. And I think this person is, even though they are not quite sure where anything is going, and it's bringing up a lot of their inner child, pains and worries and things that's, that obviously have got them to this point where they're afraid of whatever this is, right? They're still in love. That love conquers all. Their love is conquering their fight or flight. It's like, no, let's be zen. Let's see how this goes. This person is choosing love, and that is very tough, especially considering that this person has darkness that they have to overcome. And not the darkness as in like, like they have an evil side. No, when I say darkness, is like, things that they, traumas, pains that they've gone through in the past, either through their childhood, through their adulthood, somehow, some places in relationships and work. There's some things that, of course, have caused this person to have a little bit of anxiety in some areas, and those are the darknesses I'm talking about, right? And this is opening their eyes to a lot of those things. And of course, being that the Knight of Wands is the challenge, it's understandable why this person is having that. Why this person has those Knight of Wands up. But I feel like they're not giving up on that relationship. They're not going to give up, and they're not going to toss this relationship away because they have such intense feelings for this relationship. They have intense feelings for the person that they're with, the person that they're connecting with. And this can be the same way with friendships, guys. This doesn't have to be just a relationship wise, right? I know it sounds super romantic, but this is also super sweet as well if this is a friendship as well. Because this person may have gone through some things, some backstabbing, some betrayals from people in their last friendships, and they're learning to be open to friendships and love again. Love, period. Love is in any and every shape and form, right? It doesn't have to be just a romantic love. It's just friendship, right? Friendship is love too. So this person may be trying to open their heart up because they feel so intensely, they feel something that they're drawn to this relationship in some way. And their emotions are heightened with this relationship as well. But on the other hand, though, right, the person, they're committed. Hierophant, showing that they have routines, but they're changing those routines, actually. I think there's some things, obviously, that they're having to adjust to, change to, not for the other person, not just for, what they're starting, but for themselves, right? They're reaffirming, they're reconstructing their their boundaries, their patterns in relationships. They're reconstructing their belief system, their structure, right? Because the Hierophant talks about societal norms, talks about rules and traditions, and this person may have the traditions of their past, right? The things that they've all grown up with, right? Things that that were instilled growing up, things that they were taught as children. And I think they're changing a lot of those things, not, because they realize that how they've been and what their traditions are, they're not going to probably benefit them moving forward. So this person's changing a lot of things about themselves, about their belief systems, about their traditions, figuring out what to keep, what not to keep. They're coming up with their own traditions, their own structure moving forward, and committing to that for themselves so the way they can commit to the relationship. They're coming with a different strategy, different box, pretty much for themselves, so that way they can do things according to that. They're no longer going based off of how their parents or how their families raised them. They're coming up with what makes sense to them, what rings true to them, what truly makes sense going forward. Okay, now you could tell this because of the Seven of Coins, and Seven of Coins, as well as we all know, for those of us that study the tarot or whatever, we know this is a card for reevaluation. So this person is sitting here literally reevaluating everything, reevaluating their past, why these traditions come into play in their lives in the first place, what characteristics they can take from it, and if this is beneficial and if it serves them moving forward, if it resonates with who they are purely. And if this is something that they can actually integrate into their work or they have to discard, right? They're going through and changing their foundation right now. And this foundation is going to help them plant a seed with this relationship, because they see the potential for greatness in this relationship. They see the potential for a seriously stable situation, but it's going to have to come from them, and they understand that. I feel they understand that. Even though this person is very committed to the person, committed to themselves in this relationship, they're changing a lot of their foundation to make it so, and not just of course, compromising their own belief systems and putting themselves in situations where they're disempowered, but where they're putting themselves in power. That's what they're doing. And so they have their walls up right now, but I feel like they're changing the game for themselves, so that way they don't have to feel like they have to keep their wall up in order to be safe. They have boundaries, they have structures, they have things that they do, patterns, and then create their own traditions, so that they are safe in relationships, that they are safe in this relationship. And the other person is showing the Ace of Cups. And I like that, because look at this. The Ace of Cups, King of Coins, and then the Ace of Coins. And a beautiful diagonal kind of way, right? Commitment, stability, reliability. And this person is truly going off of, trusting their faith, trusting their emotions, trusting how they feel, going with their heart, right? They're not judging it. They're not, doing anything that would, shun their feelings. They're truly 100% embracing it. They're no longer criticizing it. The Ace of Cups, to me, is a brand new beginning, not in the sense of just, new love, because of course they're learning how to love themselves too, right? This is the Ace, right? They're learning to love yourself. It's a spiritual growth opportunity. It's allowing yourself to just feel what you feel and trying to figure out and understand why you feel those things. So I think this is beautiful that everybody in their own ways are growing in some ways that will benefit the relationship, that will help to encourage reliability and stability and support for both people. But with the Nine of Wands coming up here, that defensiveness, it's their determination. It's more of determination to me versus having a wall up. It's there. The fact that everybody's a little defensive, right, is because they're still having to overcome a lot of the things that they've already, that they've been through growing up, being a human being on this planet, right? We've all gone through some traumas and things that, that hurt us, but those walls are there to help us to realize what we need to overcome and continue to fight the good fight, because I think there's something on the other side that we're trying to achieve, right? Because we're the Nine of Wands, and we're almost there at the finish line. And I think we all feel it. That's why there is determination, this willingness to fight, this continuation to fight. And once your heart is sold, right? Or your heart is sold in regards to love, right? There's nothing really going to stop you from having the best of the best. And I feel like that's what both parties are trying to do here. This person on an emotional plane, being emotionally open, allowing their hearts to just be free, not judging them, not anything. And this person is coming with a whole new foundational structure for themselves so that way they can have a beautiful relationship with this person. So it's inner child work, family, when it comes to the children's card. Inner child work. Healing the inner child. And you guys have, from the Whispers of Love, speak the language of love. Damn, I love it. And it says, loving words have the power to change someone's life, including your own. And it does help to have conversations, especially when it's kind of confusing and it doesn't make sense right now. It's really good to have conversations and talk things through with your partner. But I feel like if you're coming from a heart space and you constantly do things from a heart space, of course don't hesitate to say those things and communicate those things. But at the same time, allow yourself to express your love, not just through action, but through words, because words are just as powerful.